It was Ozzy Ardiles' testimonial match, and 30,000 turned up to watch the best player in the world pull on a Spurs shirt. And Clive Allen's boots, apparently, having turned up without his own. Well, Clive scored once in a 2-1 win, and it would be the last time Maradona would ever be cheered in England. Less than 2 months later came the Mexico World Cup and the Hand of God goal. Clive, that must have been some night.
It was a memorable night, it really was. Diego Maradona turned up after playing for Napoli the day before in Serie A, best player in the world. Speculation that he would appear in Ozzy's testimonial. He arrived with no boots, would you believe? And the only boots that would fit him was a pair of mine, so I was very happy to lend them to him. I made sure that I got them back and got them back signed, but he was an extraordinary player, and it was a fantastic night.
He was up against half the England team. What were you wanting his autograph afterwards?
Oh, it was great. The lads were getting shirts signed and boots signed and everything that they could, because at that time he was the best player in the world. There was no doubt about it.
Best player in the world with small feet.
Very small feet, yes. Luckily the same size as me.
Right, well, Spurs have got Everton away, first game of the season, Chris. Where do you think they'll want to be at this stage?
I think they'll be looking to bed in their side that's going to start. I mean, I know today that, you know, the one or two players that may not start at the beginning of the season, but I think he starts to think now what team can actually start that game, the first game of the season, get those 3 points.
Another month before the end of the transfer deadline. What players, if any, would he be wanting to sign? He's obviously kept all of his.
Well, I think he's pretty settled now. I mean, there's been a lot of speculations about people coming in, but I think he's pretty settled now with his squad, and he seems to have a lot of depth in his squad, which I think is good, and a lot of youth.
I think the addition of Wanyama is one that he definitely wanted. Obviously, he worked with him at Southampton, and Janssen's one that they've tracked for a while, so he's got cover in for Kane, and also he's got, I think, real physicality in that midfield area. I think at this moment in time, there wouldn't be too many more players that he would want to add to the squad. He will see how the start of the season unfolds and then perhaps add to it in the January window. But I think Tottenham have done good business to this point.
And how big a season is this for Dele Alli, when you think this time last season he wasn't even starting for Spurs?
Oh, it's an extraordinary season. I think he was the one that I think he just added that little bit of gold dust to the team. He has an edge to his game, there's no doubt about that, and I don't mind that. I think it's very, very important. But what he did, he was a provider of chances for Harry Kane. He was a taker of chances with some spectacular goals, and I just think he linked the whole team up. And when they needed that little bit of gold dust, Dele Alli certainly came up with it. And
Lamela showing the promise of what was predicted when we signed him 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he came in with a big price on his head and didn't produce in the first couple of seasons, but I think he has really joined the party with Pochettino's squad, and I think he's really trying to show why people have paid that money for him.
And Christian Eriksen, I mean, an enigmatic player. I mean, when he's on song, he's phenomenal, but some Spurs fans would say they look for more consistency from him.
Yeah, I think that if there's one criticism about Eriksen is that he does disappear for periods in games, but his contribution can be immense. Fantastic, obviously, Deadpool taker. He does score goals and create chances. I just think sometimes they would like him to dominate the games a little bit more, be on the ball more, making things happen more consistently. But I think there's a real good mixture of talent within the group now.
But Yang Vertonghen injured at the moment. Do they perhaps need more cover in the centre of defence?
Well, it depends how long that injury is going to be, but I mean, that's a big blow for them, because he's been there a little while now. He showed his captaincy qualities, you know, in the Euros and last season, and I think they'll wait for him. I don't think they'll want to stockpile too many players in that area.
And the season as a whole, I mean, you could argue that the fear is that Tottenham did so well last season because the big clubs faltered, but they've had a chance to regroup, the two Manchester clubs, two new managers. It's going to be a tough season for Spurs.
It's a tough season for everybody in the Premier League. I think there's fierce competition. There's probably, you know, you would say at this moment in time 12 teams that could win the Premier League, and you can't write off Leicester after what they did last season, a most amazing season. But the expectation is certainly heightened at Spurs after what was a fantastic season. As Chris said, if that had been given to them at the start of the season, Champions League football and a third place finish, they would have been delighted. just to repeat that this season would be an amazing achievement.
And Chris, you worked in the academy, you know Spurs inside out. Any young players that you think could be given a chance this season?
Well, I mean, they've got one starting today, you know, Carter Vickers. You know, he's been there since he was 9 or 10, and he's a good player, great attitude. You know, they've got Marcus Edwards as well on the subs bench, and a host of others. So I think you know, John McDermott's done a great job there with that academy, and there's a lot more to come.
And Marcus Edwards, a jewel in the crown of the academy, they're saying.
It's absolutely fantastic player, one to look out for.
And Eric Dyer, he was the England player who did impress this summer.
Yeah, I think Eric Dyer took fantastic Premier League form into the Euros, played in the role that he played for Spurs all season, and was outstanding. The screen in front of the back four, but he was really disciplined in the way that he played, and he took that into his England performances, which was full credit to him.
Well, not long now to go. Let's join our commentators for today's match, Ian Dowie and David Stow.
Thank you, Selina. After a busy old summer, the new season is nearly upon us all over again. For fans, players and commentators alike, football is the game that never sleeps. Tottenham against Inter Milan should be the perfect fixture to continue our summer football fix and to whet our appetites for the months ahead. 19 goals scored in the previous 4 meetings and some memorable moments along the way. We hope for more of the same today. Spurs have picked themselves up and dusted themselves down after their season collapsed in the home straight last season. The spine of the team has been strengthened over the summer in 2 ways: by the arrival of new personnel and with some of the regulars enduring a character-building European Championships. Mauricio Pochettino says the group is older, wiser and tougher thanks to their recent emotional rollercoaster. Today's about fine-tuning fitness. And here are the two sides. Tottenham are fielding a strong Spurs starting 11 with Harry Kane and Dele Alli among a group of 6 players returning from their post-Euros breaks. Kyle Walker, Toby Alderweireld, Danny Rose and Eric Dyer all come in as well. New signing Vincent Janssen is on the bench. Victor Wanyama tweeted yesterday citing a visa problem as to why he isn't here. As for Inter, former Manchester City manager Roberto Mancini has selected a side which includes 2 new signings in Ever Banega and Christian Ansaldi, and one of the stars of the Euros in Croatian Ivan Perisic. Harry Kane and Mauro Icardi going through the housekeeping, the two who will lead the lines respectively today and look to do the damage. In this clash with Inter Milan, the Italians unhappy. It was Kyle Walker who tumbled, and the referee has pointed to the spot.
Well, that's a strange one. Well, I'm not sure it is a penalty. I mean, he does catch it, but there's no intent. I mean, it's Ambrosio, I think, it does it, or is it Ansaldi? It's Ansaldi, I think, that brings him down. I don't really see it as a penalty. If you look at it, does he catch him afterwards? Yes, but I don't think there's any intent. It's a very, very soft one, but wonderful opportunity for maybe that and Harry Kane to step up. And
it was Banega who tried something a bit clever.
Yeah, I don't know why he tried to. I mean, it was a good little ball from Kondogbia. They're on the break. Looks like a decent opportunity to counter-attack. He tries to flick it backwards. I mean, it was a weird thing. He could take it in his stride and run forward. So Banega, they'll be hoping for big things. That little bit of something different. He did that very well. Sevilla, of course, and add something to their attacking intent. Certainly, in terms of the goals they scored last year, Inter, you know, probably nowhere near enough.